Welcome back to my channel, and today we are making over this lovely dresser. This is a ordinary everyday dresser. I see tons of these on Marketplace. It has this big blemish. The person that I got this from said that she had a protective, like a doily kind of thing on top and things sitting on it. And when she took all that off, there was that blemish, so it didn't protect it from anything. She doesn't know what it was, but it looks to me like perfume or something that just ate through the finish. It's in good shape. It's not terribly old. This is not vintage. But to me, I look at it and I go, you could be pretty. You could be something different. So I know that I would have to, if I was just going to fix that blemish, I would have to strip the top and restain it and all of that anyhow. And I decided I wanted to make this something prettier, light and bright and fun. So first thing I need to do is take off all the hardware. This hardware is a really common, very typical hardware for this dresser. Every time I see it on Marketplace, it almost always has this same hardware. And I don't want to just keep it the same. So I have a ton of this in my inventory that I've kept off other pieces just in case I needed it. So this is going to go in for donation. I always, put everything, bundle it up, and then donate it. Somebody may be looking for this hardware, even though I don't care for it. Okay, so these are 3-piece hardware sets. This bale style pull. It's got, something that holds on each end, and the bale, of course, in the center. So you got to take off all the pieces. And we'll just get this all done. This is still fairly new. That's the instructions. I don't know why the dresser needs instructions, but I guess in case you needed to know how to take the drawers in and out, because that is a little tricky sometimes. These are those tension style guides with a little plastic thing that you got to get over in order to push the drawer in. Anyway, now we need to get started cleaning. So I get a lot of questions on my channel about, why do you bother to clean something that you're about to make dirty again by sanding it? And it's a great question, and it does make sense. Like, why bother? It's about to get super dusty and you got to clean it again. Well, there's a good reason. So I don't know if you could tell from the very first video showing the dresser. It was very shiny, super shiny. And this is a degreaser that I'm using, and the shiny was on there because it seemed like it had some kind of wax on it, wax or polish or something. So I have to get that off of there. Now it may make the piece look pretty, but what it does is it gums up my sandpaper. And then that leaves pigtails and swirl marks. And I'm going right in with my interface pad now that that had some time to dry. What degreaser I was using, because I get lots of questions about that also, is Crud Cutter. And I use that. It's a really common degreaser that a lot of us use as refinishers. And it's just because it works. It's an economical cleaner, and you can easily get it at big box stores and on Amazon, of course. So that's what I use. I really like it. I've been using it a long time. It doesn't seem to leave a residue. Now you can see I'm paying some extra special attention to that area of the blemish on top, because when you break through the existing finish all the way down to bare wood, it's going to leave a ledge. And that ledge is going to be, you can completely see it. So I was trying to sand that down to get the ledge smooth so that you don't see it. And we'll see if that was successful once I get started priming. But when I ran my hand over it, it was pretty smooth. But now you can see that interface pad in action, just hugging all those curves. I know the surf prep for many is quite an investment. It was for me when I first started. It took me a while before I made the jump and decided to buy it, and I'm so glad I did. I use it all the time. It's a great sander, lots of times for the interface pad, of course, on all these rounded details. You never think about dressers really having so many round areas, but they do. But it's also a great sander with traditional sandpaper on it to do flat parts. I love using it after Bondo. Now that everything is fully scuff sanded, I've got the whole thing sanded, it's time to go in and clean it again. So this time I just have a damp microfiber towel. It's just with water. And you can see that I'm also putting adjustable screws in the drawers. Those are those long adjustable screws that come with new hardware that I never use for anything else except for temporary handles. I'm also, dusting everything again with this microfiber towel. It's also removing any residue that would have been there. Now, I have to address this blemish one more time because it's down to bare wood and nothing else is. So if I were to just throw water-based primer on there, it's going to have a different texture than everything else. Okay, while that dries, it's time to set up my spray tent. I'm going to do this in the small tent today. Sometimes I set up a big tent in my driveway, but for one piece, I'm going to manage with this Wagner tent. This is a large size tent, and I'm going to max it out today. This dresser is about the biggest size piece I can do. I am a camper, backpacker, hiker person, and I know how to set up tents. I know this is a tricky tent for some people, but you can see that the front track has a pole in it that hooks in the back, and the back track has a pole in it that hooks in the front, so you create that X, if that helps. Anyway, I get this completely opened up, and it's time to blow it out because overspray creates a dust, and I don't want any dust on my new piece. I get everything dusted out, time to put it in the tent and get my primer ready. So I'm using Stix primer. This is my favorite go-to primer. It is tinted gray. It looks kind of white going on, but you'll see when I start painting that it's going to be gray. I did add a little water to it. I do dilute it so that it sprays in a fine mist. Get my sprayer all ready to go. Of course, get your respirator on. This is a respirator that's specific for paint. I get lots of questions about that, so I'll be sure to link it. And then I'm just overlapping each pass to get a good even coat of primer on here. Now you can really see when I'm going back and forth here how I'm overlapping each pass. It looks like I'm only adding a couple of inches each time I go by, but this is actually a path that's about 6 inches wide, and I'm overlapping at about 50%. And that keeps you from having a lot of streaks. Otherwise, this looks completely streaky, and you'd need to do a second coat in order to even it out. And the reason I use gray primer, and white primer works fine too, the Stix primer has such great coverage, you can use it totally in white. And I do get it tinted in gray because I feel like going all the way from a dark stain to a light paint, which I'm doing, spoiler alert, is a big stretch for primer. So if you're going all the way from dark and then you're going to go white, I like to do dark to gray and then to my color. But anyway, that's just my way of thinking, and the primer in gray has great coverage. I don't usually get a lot of breakthrough, so you can't see any blotchiness. So nice even passes there, and again, you can see total coverage just from one coat, but what I can also see is that blemish. Do you see the little ledges there? It might be a little difficult for you to see, but all I can see is the ledge. I can completely see that spot, and that's going to drive me nuts. I cannot leave it like that. So in comes a fantastic product by Bondo called Glazing and Spot Putty. You can use traditional Bondo for this. Wood filler is not going to work great here because it doesn't have anything really to sit into. Wood filler, you really have to get down into a surface in order for it to work well. This one's going to sit up on top of a surface, and this Glazing and Spot Putty just sticks to everything. It is a fantastic product. I love it. I use it also for filling in wood grain, for lots of pinholes, all those fantastic little wormholes that manufacturers like to put in. The Spot Putty does great. So I've just got a big spreader here, and I'm just putting that across there to make it even. I have a sanding block that you can Velcro sandpaper to, and I'm using a sanding net here in a 120 grit. I like to use this over my sander when I'm using the Spot Putty. I think the sander just gets down in it a little bit too far and takes too much product away. So I like to do this by hand. Getting rid of all the dust, get everything wiped off, and now that was a pretty big blemish. And then of course scuff sanding everything else because after primer you always sand in between coats. All right, just preparing my paint. This is a beautiful white. I'm using the organic white from Farmhouse Evolution. Added a little water to it to thin it. Here you go. Good shot of that. This is my favorite paint line. And I mean, I do dilute it because that just helps with the, fine spray out of my sprayer. It's just a little too thick, I feel like, to spray. It comes out kind of blotchy that way. All right, now of course you can see the difference in the primer and the white paint. And again, just overlapping each pass. I'm going to speed things up. We already watched this whole process with the primer. But this will be a really good shot to see how much I overlap each pass. See that coming in there, totally overlapped. It's just really important when you're spraying. Of course, this whole piece could have been brushed very easily. I brushed so many pieces before I decided to jump in with a sprayer. And I feel like, it's a great way, especially with lighter colors, you could totally brush. I just recommend using a misting spray bottle with a really good paintbrush so that you can mist it with a little bit of water and then brush it. It will help your paint lay down nice and flat. All right, got that all painted, and now I'm going right back over. Now, if this were not an all-in-one paint, I probably would prime that little spot again with that glazing putty. But I'm using an all-in-one paint, even though I'm priming and going to top coat on top of it. It didn't need it, but I'm a little overkill. I kind of tend to do a little more than necessary. Okay, now after the first coat of paint, I go in with full strength paint and a paintbrush, and this is a foam little brush, and I touch up all the edges. So I do that with full strength paint, not the diluted paint, because you get better coverage that way. And just get all of these touched up. And then I noticed, I hate these joints. You can totally see. Now, you would never notice that when it's stained, but when you go and you paint something, you're like, oh, that's atrocious. I just can't. So I got to fix that. And caulk is your friend in this instance. So I'm using a painter's caulk. This is a latex caulking, and it's perfect for this application. It's no different than how your baseboards and door trim and things are caulked with the same type of product. And then my finger is wet, and I just go along there and smooth all of that out, and then I have to allow it to dry before I paint over it. And in between coats again, another scuff sanding on all surfaces. I'll get that wiped down with a damp rag one more time. And then I'm going to go in and second coat. Now you can barely see this. The coverage on this paint is amazing. So much that the second coat you can barely see. It's crazy. When you're brushing, I notice sometimes with that first coat, it's ugly. Whew. But this paint spraying is amazing. Okay. Did the second coat, let that dry, and here I am with top coat. I don't sand that second coat of paint. I let it be, and then we'll do top coat. And I'm not going to show all the layers of top coat, but I do top coat, I sand everything, and then top coat again. Even though, again, this is an all-in-one paint, I do a couple layers of top coat. I am one all about durability. And these are my pulls. These are the coolest. These are adjustable style pulls. There's lots of kinds of adjustable pulls, and there's some of them where every time I look at them, I go, those were adjustable. I can tell they're not my favorite. When I found these, I go, oh, these are cool adjustable pulls. The heads of the screw go in that little channel, and you put that in your drawer, and then the nut goes over it, the washer, and then a locking nut, and then you just use that wing nut to tighten it. Super cool. I really like these. I use them when the hole spacing is a weird spacing, or I just want to go in and do something simple and not fill and drill new holes. So again, I had the two screws already in the channel. I put it through the drawer. I put a washer on there. I put the nut on there. Now I'm using that little wing nut just to tighten it down. I know my arm's totally in the way. This is my fantastic videography. Okay, I have furniture skills, not video skills. And those look amazing. But what I do in my little paint touch-up kit is I give them one of those wing nuts because you get one with every pull. So I end up with 6 of them here, and I'm happy to pass that along to the buyer so that they have that in case they want to swap out hardware or one of the nuts comes loose or something. One more cleaning, I take out the drawers and just make sure everything's all nice and spick and span and clean inside the drawers and underneath. Get that drawer back in. Again, these are pressure, so you have to kind of tap them into place. Let's take a look back at where we started. Not a bad dresser. I just felt it was kind of boring. It could be a little more. And here we are. I think this was a big upgrade to this dresser. I know not everybody loves painted, but I am a fan of white with gold. I think it's so bright and fresh and clean and modern. It's just one of my favorite combinations. So I hope you like this makeover. And if you like these types of makeovers where I explain the whole process and go through all the tips and tricks of the trade, be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow for more.